Every cemetery is full of billion-dollar ideas that never left the page. Doers are the ones who realize that taking the first step, no matter how messy, always beats a million perfect plans. You're never going to feel ready. Start anyway. My name is Jason, and this is the Doer Paradox, a place for conversations with people who chose to stop dreaming and start doing. Entrepreneurs who took the first steps, faced the resistance, and kept going. This project exists because I needed it, and if I'm being honest, I'm still not ready. But readiness isn't the goal. You just have to get started. The place between planning and living our dreams, that's the Doer Paradox. When I was a kid, creativity came easy to me. Legos never stayed the same for very long. They became the building blocks for a million other ideas. My ADD brain had no boundaries back then, and every object, every room was a new world. Lego cities stretched across the basement floor, and little army figures playing out battles across the living room furniture. Every couch was a structure, every coffee table was a fortress. The more I built, the more I imagined. I sketched entire homes, inspired by whatever landscape I saw. A cliffside or a mountaintop, from pictures to reality, I could design relentlessly. Those homes had things that I never even knew could exist. Underground garages, tunnels between the bedrooms, miniature indoor putting greens. I wasn't burdened by reality or engineering codes. Creativity wasn't something I tried to cultivate, it was me. But as you grow up, creativity gets domesticated. School adds structure, society adds rules. You start comparing instead of creating. And music was like that for me. I played the trumpet and I was pretty good. But by comparison, I was always second chair. There were standards and expectations, not necessarily from others, but more stuff that I internalized. I had solos and my parents would tell you that they were pretty good. But me, I always felt I could have done better. My creativity wasn't boundless anymore, and it had a shape. In my late teens and early 20s, I was torn between two identities: the creative and the guy who needed to make money. I thought industrial design was going to give me a stable career and fuel my imagination while paying the bills. But in reality, that wasn't the case for me. See, I ended up working for a few furniture companies, mostly doing manual labor for them. I never actually got to design anything, and I kept telling myself, this is just how it's supposed to start. But eventually I gave up. I wasn't paying the bills, and I couldn't see a path forward. Why would I stay? In my free time, though, I was still building furniture. In my parents' garage with limited tools, space, and materials. You see, those constraints, they felt empowering. They forced creativity and they made me resourceful. I ended up that summer with over 10 pieces of finished furniture, and I was really happy. But most of the time, those constraints felt suffocating. You see, I could picture it. I could see what I wanted to create, but I couldn't reach it. Not with the tools or the time or the space that I had, and I didn't have the money to change that. I felt stuck. That's when I realized I needed to do something different. So I got into sales. And sales clicked instantly for me. The energy, the pace, the commissions, it fit. And I ended up doing 6 figures in my first full year. And despite all that, I was still miserable. You see, I was running away from my problems, too afraid to invest the time to build skills in the wrong direction, and too eager to be a success that I just chased the money. And despite all this, I still was trading time for money. Driving 6 days a week, 60,000 miles a year, with no time for friends, family, and myself. So at 25, I bought a house and I thought, this is it. This is my breakthrough. I'll renovate it, I'll build everything myself, and I'll film it. This will be the YouTube channel. This will be the breakthrough. This will be the moment that I build the business and the launch of something new. The truth is, motivation disappears really fast when you don't have the time or the energy. I was still working 6 days a week. So sure, I built things in the house that I'm proud of, but perfectionism killed the project before it ever reached the light of day. And I never shared it with anyone. I nitpicked everything. I saw the flaws before I saw the beauty. I anticipated criticism that wasn't even real. I wasn't held back by feedback I was receiving. I was held back by the feedback I imagined, and that self-judgment kept me small. I found myself in a loop. Make just enough money to buy the next cool tool, but never enough time to do anything meaningful with it. Just enough hope to stay in the game, but never enough momentum to break through. I realized if I didn't do something, this was going to be my future. And I couldn't sit right with that. I tried to stay in sales, but I knew I couldn't see a future where I was working for somebody else. You see, the barriers that I felt were the limitations of time and money. I could have gone up and worked in management and made multiple six figures and on paper looked successful. But in reality, I'd still be working 6 days a week on somebody else's project, and I'd have the money, but not the freedom. I'd had stuff, but not more life. I pivoted into insurance not because it was glamorous, but because it represented freedom and flexibility. Maybe this, I thought, was the job that would give me the time to build furniture and work on the home. Maybe this was the opportunity that would make me enough money to go build the businesses that I oh so desperately wanted to start. And little did I know this was just the start of something so much more. What insurance gave me wasn't just flexibility, it was environment. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who genuinely wanted to grow. People who set their goal to be the best versions of themselves. People who had started multiple successful businesses. People who had failed a bunch. People were rebuilding their lives from scratch here. And I also joined other networking groups of young entrepreneurs and found the same thing. The concept of when you surround yourself with people striving for bigger things, you grow too. You raise your identity, you raise your standards, and you raise your expectation of yourself. You see, I didn't feel like the odd one out anymore. You see, I wasn't certain of how or why, but I was certain of one thing. And it's that if 70-year-old Jason looked back at a life lived where he didn't chase his passions, what difference would that be from, say, an architect who worked 50 years and never put his name on a building? That might be a good life for some, but for me, that was a life of regret that I knew I couldn't live. There were two lessons that changed everything for me. And the first one came from my cousin who said, Jason, don't be afraid to tell people your dreams. You never know who you're talking to. The next person might just be the one who invests in you, partners with you, and changes everything. Hiding your dreams doesn't protect them, it suffocates them. But you do need to be ready. The second lesson I had the pleasure of learning for myself. And it's that self-confidence comes from doing the things that you say you're going to do. Not from planning, not from dreaming, not from researching, but from doing. You see, confidence is built internally, in the moments when you follow through for yourself. And this is still the hardest one for me. As somebody who constantly tries to reinvent the wheel, it takes a lot for me to say, I'm not special. And it probably would have been a lot easier if I just worked with what the people before me had left. It wasn't going to hinder my goals or my success. it was going to accelerate them. Like this podcast. This has been in the works for over 6 years, I could say. In my head, or drawn out on paper, in different iterations, constantly being tweaked and improved and worked on. But it's only now that things are actually moving. I've spent the greater part of the last 3 decades dreaming, sketching, and planning. You see, I've designed dozens of homes, created thousands of products in my head, sketches over who knows how many napkins and notebooks and papers. I've thought of businesses that should be grossing millions. I know what I want. I just haven't had the confidence to get it. But the final lesson I learned was this. You don't think your way into the life you want. You build it, one messy step at a time, and then the vision becomes reality. This podcast is me documenting that journey. It's learning from people who started before they're ready. It's working on becoming the person I want to be, a leader, a doer, a creative, an entrepreneur. There is no perfect plan. You're not going to feel ready. You just have to start. Welcome to the Doer Paradox.